Hello everybody, this is Diesel from Imagineyourgoddess, and I'm here to show you a new deck profile that we got by request on our Facebook page for Arboros Dragon build of Nectars. Now, this build is a little different from the kind of builds that you normally see from me, and I'll talk more about that as we go by, but for now, just know that we start with the Grade 0 Arboros to begin with. You can't get off a chain if you don't run the chain monsters. For triggers, we have 4 crits, the Musketeer, and 4 more crit, the Chestnut Bullet. And then we move into 4 draw. I use 4 Leaf Fairy and 4 heal triggers. This is standard fare for any kind of deck that uses the Vanguard to put pressure on things in the beginning. 8 crit, 4 draw. I also like 7 crit, 5 draw, but for the purposes of this build, getting that extra crit in every time is usually worth it. Okay, let's move straight into the grade 1s. As usual for ride decks, it runs 4 copies of the Chain Ride, 4 copies of the grade 1. Now, for those of you who don't know, this grade 1 Chain Ride, just like Zeal and Riviere, lets you look for the top 7 cards of the deck. If you ride from the 0 to 1, you get to look in the top 7 for the 2 or the 3. Hopefully you'll have one of those 2 in your hand already, so that this is just going to finalize your Chain Ride. Then we got 4 Corolla Dragons, the AK booster. In this deck, you want to have as much power as you can on the field because it boosts into unbelievable power and makes your opponent really have to choose whether or not they're going to guard. Then we have 3 Lady of the Sunlight Forests. Now, the reason why we're running 3 Lady of the Sunlit Forests is because when you do the root ability of the Arboros Dragon, the ability to look at a rear guard, search your deck for a copy of it, and put it onto the field, you want to make sure that you can get your roses consistent with the same name as possible, because grade 3 Arboros boosts things when you spot them on the field. That's why this deck only runs 3 perfect shields instead of 4. Now, you guys have heard me usually run 4 because you want to have the perfect shield when your opponent goes for the big hit, but in this particular deck, you're trying to get off those gigantic hits and just kind of leave your opponent hanging as long as you can. Okay, let's move into the grade 2s. Got grade 2 Arboros. When the grade 2 Arboros rides the grade 1, you get to do that root ability I was just talking about. It also makes it a 10k. You run 4, and often you'll see that when you're doing your final setups, you'll have 2 Arboros Dragons on the side, because they're the kind of card that you normally would throw away, but a 9k that is instead a 12k is pretty good. Then we have 4 Iris Knight. Again, 10k vanilla, lots of power, and it allows you to set up nice columns for the outrageous grade 3 effect. Then it has 3 copies of Maiden of Rainbow Wood. You could also use Glass Bead Dragon. I just happen to have extra copies of Rainbow Wood. It's the Counterblast 2 for draw effect. That's really good in this deck, especially when you get the grade 3's ability off, because she's going to hit most likely. Your opponent has to put a lot of resources in to make sure that she doesn't hit. And so if you have 2 on the field, you're setting yourself up nicely to just kind of run over the field and draw cards at the same time. There's also not a lot of counterblasting in this deck other than her. Okay, finally we get into the grade 3s. The grade 3, of course, the main event is the grade 3 Arboros Dragon, Separat. Separat's ability is a Limit Break 4 continuous that gives all of your Nectars a continuous ability that during your turn, if you have another copy of that unit out, that unit gets 3,000. So you have 2 Rainbow Woods on the field. They both have this ability, and they would both get plus 3,000 continuously as long as you have 4 damage. Also, it's an 11k as long as the grade 2 Arboros is in your soul. This is a really nice setup for this deck. The last Vanguard is Maiden of the Trailing Rose. Maiden of the Trailing Rose is probably the most solid secondary Vanguard there is right now for Neo Nectars. And it's because her ability allows you to start setting up for when you do get Arboros on the field. A lot of times when I was test playing this, I would get the grade 2 Arboros and Soul, not get the grade 3, but that's okay. I have Maiden of the Trailing Rose. Use her counterblast ability to start setting up my columns to be set up correctly, and then drop the Arboros when I got it, and have everything go into a much higher boosting zone. Now, inherent problems with this deck are obvious. If your opponent is running retiring effects, and they're smart, they will start retiring things that they see a lot of consistency of on the board. There's no real way to fight that other than just try to save your mega columns for when you have Arboros on the field and you're ready to go. That's pretty much it for this deck. I'd like you guys to try it out. Remember always to like and subscribe and comment about what you think is right about this deck, what you might have done differently, and also what you want to see us do next. Hopefully here in the next couple weeks we'll have up some more deck profiles, definitely some more fights, hopefully, and maybe even a couple special guest spots. We'll see. Talk to you guys soon.